When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can share the thrill with friends using our exclusive Bet Share feature.
We're back with the TwinSpires jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully, and Darin Zoccali is back from Hawaii. Hope you enjoyed it over far on the West Coast. That's not even the West Coast.
Racing, I'd live there.
Yeah. I still haven't made it to Hawaii, but one day. All right, well, we're going to talk our best bets and fades of the week for Haskell Day at Monmouth Park, Saratoga, and we'll also look at Del Mar opening weekend and some big races at Woodbine as well. And wanted to mention real quickly, week 4 of our fantasy handicapping contest. We have our winner here on the jury, James Scully. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But I will turn it over to Darin to start things off today since you're back from vacation. So Darin, tell me what your best bet of the week is and where you're going to play that.
Well, we'll see if I'm good first time off the layoff. We're going to go to Monmouth Park on Haskell Day, the supporting feature, which is the United Nations. For a race that formerly was a grade 1 event and it came up pretty strong, I thought. I like Web Slinger a lot here, guys. Web Slinger, I just think, has been facing better horses than the majority of these. Getting a route of ground again, stretching back out to this 1 3/8 distance off that last performance that saw him get up in a minor stake event at Churchill Downs. He has been a habit of a horse, or had a habit as a horse that has consistently closed from well back, but has consistently come up short in a lot of big spots. And I've certainly been nosed out with him quite a few times. But when he gets that extra bit of ground, it tends to do him some good. He showed the stretch out, helped him last time. And when you take a look through the field, I do see enough of an early pace scenario in here that should set things up nicely for him. I like the fact that he's getting an aggressive rider in Luis Saez here. He's 1 for 1 over the Monmouth turf course, so you have an added plus there. But what it really comes down to is from a speed figure standpoint, from a class standpoint, I just think he's been running very well against what are better horses than what he's facing here. And the other thing that I like about him is that a lot of the horses that are going to get focused on here are coming out of the Monmouth Stakes, which was a race that I just did not like at all. The Monmouth Stakes had a blanket finish with 7 horses inside of 2 lengths of one another. A horse that was 35-1, dead heated for the win. They went very slow early. Everyone just kind of ran on late and basically maintained their positions to the wire and covering almost the entire field by about 2.5 lengths. I wasn't impressed by that race. I don't think it stacks up well against the horses Web Slinger's been facing. I look for him to come with that big late run here and get up in the UN, guys.
Any concern that Jose Ortiz had been aboard Web Slinger and then opted for the morning line favorite in Farbridge?
That's a good question. No, because he's been riding Farbridge the last 6 times that he's ridden him. He only rode Web Slinger once in that most recent start. That doesn't really bother me. It's the fact that Castellano wasn't there at Churchill. He's not there at Monmouth. So I just think the fact that you're getting an aggressive rider on him helps, and the fact that Ortiz is going to stick with a horse that he's ridden throughout his career doesn't really bother me.
Plus, he comes off a win at the distance. It was good to get a confidence builder. I thought he did turn things around. The first start this year, first couple starts, wasn't sure about him. But I thought that third, the program trading and Naval Power, was solid in the Old Forester. And that was a good confidence builder and a good, race at the distance for him before he returns to graded company on Saturday. My best bet is going to come at Saratoga on Saturday. It's number 7, Arrow Smash, in the 8th race. Now, this is a 4-year-old son of Arrogate. Arrogate, talked about before on these videos, got some up-and-coming runners from his final 2 crops. This Arrow Smash is from his next to last crop. And he is a colt that last summer at Saratoga broke his maiden and really good convincingly by open lengths. Came back a few starts later, won an entry-level allowance in his sophomore finale at Churchill Downs in late November. And Arrow Smash came back this year off of a 6-month layoff in an allowance race at Churchill Downs. We'll see. See the Dart Bay He's in it with a chance to win it in mid stretch there. Champlin just proves too good for him. And comes running by late to record a nice win. I'll talk a little bit about Champlin later on in the video, but I thought this was a fine runner-up effort from Aero Smash. Closed really well late to be second there. I look for him to only move forward off of that. He got the top last Brisnet speed rating. His Brisnet speed ratings improved last time, got a career best or equaled up his career best number. That's the top last number in the field, and his affinity for Saratoga only adds to the appeal, guys.
And I think it's a good chance to play against a very vulnerable morning line favorite, but I'll let Darin talk about that in our next segment. And I'll take it over to race 10 at Saratoga, the Lake George Stakes. And I'm going with number 8, Pounce, at 8-1. This is a tough race. There's a morning line favorite who certainly could win it and oversubscribed at 5-2, but moving up in class for Chad Brown, a deep closer as well who rallied late last out. And I'm going to take a shot with this 8-1 price. It's a Mark Cassie filly who's 2 for 4 from today's distance with a third as well, and won her turf debut at 7.5 furlongs and an allowance optional claimer with a 93 Brisnet speed figure. She then came back to win the grade 3 Here Comes the Bride by a neck, and she can win either setting the early pace or rallying late. So I like that she has that versatility. Last out, she had the early lead, but faded to third in the Penn Oaks. And I'll look for her to improve third start off the layoff for Mark Cassie here, who's winning at a 27% clip this meet. Dylan Davis is picking up the mount, a 19% winner at Monmouth as well. And Pounce has a very sharp 4 furlong workout on July 5th. So I'm going to take that shot at 8-1 over the morning line favorite, moving up in class here.
Yeah,
I expect her to. Well, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, both of you guys have the best bets in races that I both considered for my fade. Oversubscribed, I think, is a horse that you could take a stand against in a race that kind of fell apart coming out of the Wild Applause. And I thought Manama Gold was really interesting, going to the turf for the first time, second time with Pletcher's, akin to 3 turf winners. So I thought that was kind of an interesting move. But this is a race that I'll be focused on quite a bit on Saturday because I don't like the favorite. I think Pounce has a chance. And like you mentioned, Mark Cassie off to a much better start at this Saratoga meet than he has in previous years.
Oh yeah, on fire, Mark Cassie. He had five maiden winners in North America last week, including a pair at Saratoga. I think she's going to show speed. I like the addition of Dylan Davis for Pounce. I like that last effort running third. I thought that in the Here Comes the Bride stakes, she really showed a gameness to win that race. And I was a little concerned after she threw in a complete clunker in the Appalachian. So it looks like she's back on the right path for Mark Cassie.
Well, we already talked about oversubscribe being vulnerable, but James, what other horse are you fading at a short price?
I'm going to fade number 1, Factor Analysis, in the last race, race 12 at Saratoga on Saturday. I like playing against these types. Factor Analysis has been second or third in all 4 of his career starts. In all of those races, he's been like 2-1 or less. So people have lost a lot of money betting on him so far. Was part of an entry in 1 race, 2 back, or last couple, but he's definitely a type that is coming into this race. And part of the appeal of picking against a short priced horse like Factor Analysis, who's 7-5 on the morning line, is that there's some others in there that offer some appeal to me. I'll mention number 3, Artempus, number 5, El Rosine, and number 10, Dela Cruz. I prefer all 3 of those runners over Factor Analysis. Factor Analysis has an entry mate that's on the AE list. It comes off a dull 7th. So regardless, I'm going to try to beat this Chad Brown entry in the last race at Saratoga on Saturday.
What about you, Darin?
Yeah, also at Saratoga, a race that you had mentioned, Ashley, James, Federal Judge is my fade for Brad Cox, coming in off the long layoff. When last seen, was racing in the Woody Stevens Stakes as a 3-year-old when in the barn of Rudy Brissett, and you could see him kind of fading along the rail there after setting the pace. That's Arabian Lion, who goes on to win on that particular day. Look, I respect the horse. He certainly had a lot of ability, but coming into Saratoga for your first race off of a 14 or 13-month layoff is always a very tall order because you're going to catch a pretty salty group, and this race is certainly no exception. I think Gunnett dropping out of the grade 2 True North certainly stands more than a chance in here. Deer District going back to sprinting after a couple of turf tries is interesting. James's horse Arrow Smash, I do think, is a viable win player. And I think Full Screen, his second start over the Saratoga course this particular year, I think has a right to move forward off that brief respite between the last two. So, I think there's a lot of viable players in this race. I think it's far too competitive to settle on a horse like Federal Judge facing older for the first time coming in off a long layoff. So he'll be my fade Saturday at the Spa.
I agree with you. And I'm sticking with the Spa as well for my fade in race 5. It's number 3, Sapphilo's Mission at 2-1. This is a 7 furlong claimer for non-winners of 2. And Sapphilo's Mission faces 9 rivals, a coupled entry in here as well. And the gelding is dropping down multiple class levels, but 1 for 20 lifetime, hasn't won in 14 starts. His last 3 starts, he's finished pretty far back in each of them. He did get beaten by a neck 4 back when he was third to 2 next out winners in a 1 mile state restricted allowance, but this horse clearly just has an aversion to winning lately. So I don't want to play a horse that's been 0 for 14 in his last 14 starts. Now, I would say it's kind of hard to pick a horse in this field I feel super confident in, but just looking at the win percentage too of Linda Rice at Saratoga so far this meet, about a 9% winner, and same with Jose Lescano, kind of off to a cold start as well. So for all those reasons, I'm playing against this class dropper. We have a couple others that are dropping in class 2, so I'm going to look to them as opposed to backing this 2-1 choice.
Yeah, Linda Rice tied for training honors with 35 wins. She got up to a real slow start. I think won for her first 10. Heck, even on today's card Thursday program, she's got a 3-5 entry and a 2-1 favorite, both losing early on the program. So I would definitely say she's off to a cold start, unexpectedly cold start to the early in the Saratoga meet.
I'm sure she'll pick it up eventually, but I'm at least looking for her not to get the win here. But Darin, let's move over to the promos we have going on at TwinSpires this weekend. So what do you have?
Yeah, so summer selected money back. We pick races basically throughout different race cards each and every week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and put them into this offer. And this week is certainly going to be no exception. A lot of great racing on this day, races 2 and 6 on the Thursday at Saratoga. Friday, races 4 and 8 at Saratoga. Got a handful of races at Monmouth for Haskell Day, including the Haskell itself, and a couple of races at the Spa. So plenty of action this week lined up in the summer selected money back in order that you can take part. Your horse runs second or third in a race with 8 or more horses, and you'll get your money back. We also have a really cool offer coming up at Ellis Park. They have a leaderboard contest each and every Sunday, $2,500 on the line. All you have to do is make those wagers in line in the spirit of the promo, which is a $10 win wager on a variety of different races. You earn 100 points if your horse runs first, 50 points for second, 25 for third. And even if your horse doesn't win, you're going to earn some points, and you can climb that leaderboard to earn your share of $2,500. It pays out to 10th place, so you could turn those win bets into even more winnings with our Ellis Park leaderboard contest. And this weekend, the Breeders' Cup Challenge Profit Boost takes center stage. The 15% profit boost heads down to the Jersey Shore at Monmouth Park for Haskell Day. The Haskell, of course, is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, it's not just the Haskell. The whole card, 15% profit boost if you're opted in Monmouth on Saturday. So that's a really exciting offer. Gives you added incentive to wager on what is the best card down in the Ocean Port Oval throughout the year. So be sure to take part in that. It covers Win Exacta, Trifecta, and Superfecta wagers. 15% boost on your eligible winnings in each of those wagers at Monmouth Park on Saturday. So no surprise, Ashley. Plenty of options to choose from.
We'll be talking about the Haskell here shortly. But first, Darin, what are you watching for outside of Monmouth Park and Saratoga?
Well, I flew over California on the way home, so I might as well mention it. It's opening a day at Del Mar on Saturday, July the 20th. And they've really come through with a really strong card that includes a couple of stakes races. The Ocean Side, which has kind of been the cornerstone of opening day for years. That is a really intriguing race. King of Gosford is going to be a horse in there that a lot of people look to. Going to be stretching out from 6.5 furlongs to a mile, going a mile for the first time. He's never been more than 7, including his races overseas, making his 4th start for Phil D'Amato. He's unbeaten in his first 3 tries at Santa Anita. We'll see how he handles the stretch out. He's going to be facing a talented field, including We're in Trouble, who's worth mentioning, for Mike McCarthy, who's undefeated, unbeaten in his first 2 starts. So an interesting matchup there. And then the Grade 2 San Clement in race number 9, a mile on the turf for the 3-year-old fillies. This is a really interesting race where, again, you got horses that like Maduro, who is 8-5 in the morning line, who's unbeaten in 4 lifetime starts. Won last time out in a Grade 3 event at Santa Anita by a nose. Is facing a field that has certainly got some seasoning to it. It's got some talent to it as well. And there's a lot of different directions that you could go in if you don't like the favorite. On paper, certainly is a tremendous betting race on a tremendous card. So really looking forward to opening day at Del Mar this Saturday, guys.
They switched it up this year. It's like I've got these memories of like forever watching. It used to be Wednesday. In recent years, it's been Thursday. Like watching that opening night card, I always do that. It always seems to be on a weeknight, but going to do it on Saturday this year. What else is I'm going to mention at Ellis Park. Ellis Park has switched to a Saturday through Monday schedule this year. Field size is way up, and the feature on Sunday is the $125,000 Jeff Hall Memorial Stakes. It's a 6.5 furlong sprint. The favorite in here, morning line favorite, is number 1, Hear My Song, who ran second in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs on the Kentucky Derby Day undercard. I'm looking to play against these older horses that were in graded sprint stakes early in the year. I think this year's Breeders' Cup Sprint, just like in 2020, when Elite Power was an entry-level allowance winner at this point, and we get to the Breeders' Cup Sprint in the fall, and the Mayor Kamari is the 5-1 second choice, the Jackie's Warrior. I think this year's sprint is wide open. I'm looking for up-and-coming types like number 2, Happy as a Choice, who is 7-2 on the morning line off of, I thought, a really sharp allowance tally here on June 22nd. Marked the 3rd win in 4 starts for the John Ortiz trained 4-year-old gelding. His numbers are rising. I think he's got a chance to make an impact in stakes. And then the horse that was going to be favored in that race, but he kicked the stall and had to scratch, was number 5, Champlin. And we actually had seen this race a little bit earlier where he beat Arrow Smash this day. This was his second start for Greg Foley. This is a 4-year-old gelding that has won 3 of 4 in his career lifetime. I think he's got a very promising, lots of potential in the stakes ranks. So I'm excited by Happy as a Choice and Champlin. I want to support one of those. Whoever wins this race, I'm going to be a little bit bullish on them moving forward. I can't wait to see Subrogate run in graded stakes. He's in another allowance type in the sprint ranks. And like I said before, in detail, I think this year's Breeders' Cup Sprint is wide open right now.
Well, for me, what I'm excited to watch this weekend, Woodbine will feature a pair of graded stakes plus the $500,000 Woodbine Oaks for 3-year-old fillies. This is the first leg of the Canadian Triple Tiara series. And Woodbine will also host the Plate Trial Stakes, a prep for the $1 million King's Plate on August 17th, the first leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. And Mark Casse won the last 2 Plate Trial Stakes, most recently with Paramount Prince in 2023, who won the 2023 King's Plate as well, and is co-owned by Gary Barber, who's also the owner of My Boy Prince, a 2-5 morning line favorite in this year's Plate Trial for Mark Casse. And this is a colt who caught my eye last season as a 2-year-old. I talked about him on the Racing Roundtable a little while ago. He's a Cairo Prince colt who earned a 6-length win in a 5-furlong maiden special weight on Woodbine's all-weather track, and then beat 10 rivals by 14 lengths in the 6.5-furlong Simcoe Stakes. He then faced Grade 1 company in his next start, his turf debut in the Summer Stakes, and finished second. Won his next try on turf in the Cup and Saucer Stakes, and had a good 3rd place finish to close out a season in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. He, in his last 2, has been racing on all weather and has won by 11 1/4 lengths in a pair of non-graded stakes. But he's never raced at the distance of 1 1/8 for the Plate Trial Stakes, and this is his first 2-turn start on all weather as well. So there's a few variables here that we haven't seen with My Boy Prince, but I think Mark Casse is pretty confident that he can get the job done at this distance, and he's a really exciting horse to watch. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing him in this race. And TwinSpires will also be live on site all weekend long for the 165th King's Plate, the third week of August. So very much looking forward to that as well. All right. Well, we also have the Haskell Stakes this weekend. So let's see. James, tell me who you're going to bet in that race.
I'm big in number 7 Mind Frame. When this race was drawn yesterday, there's a little bit of uncertainty. Pletcher said that since Rapoli owns 100% of Fierceness and half of Mind Frame, he has a decision to make whether he runs them both or skips the race and potentially comes back to the Jim Dandy next week at Saratoga. Reports this morning have Fierceness probably of the two withdrawing or basically confirmed Mind Frame for the race. So Mind Frame is a colt. He made his debut at a 1-turn mile or at 7 furlongs in late March. Won by 13 lengths, stretched out to a mile and a 16th entry-level allowance on the Kentucky Derby Day undercard. He won it by 7+ lengths. I thought his effort in the 1.25 mile Belmont Stakes, considering his inexperience, was outstanding last time. He got a little bit tired and ducked out in mid-stretch, but then he came again to just lose by about a half length to Dornick. That's the kind of effort that one could naturally expect a colt like him to keep building upon, and I think he'll really appreciate the cutback as well to a 1.8 mile distance. So I like Mind Frame in the Haskell.
Darin, what about you?
Yeah, it's a really good field if it holds together. If is the big question mark there, as James alluded to. Look, bottom line is, guys, there's too many Grade 1 races for 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and it leads to owners being very willing to skip some of these Grade 1s for others. There is a camp, including myself, who thinks that a horse shouldn't be able to run in a Grade 1 until the Kentucky Derby. I'm one of those people. I don't think any 2-year-old race should be a Grade 1. I don't think any Kentucky Derby prep should be a Grade 1. And I think if you did that, you would get bigger fields in these Grade 1 races and less inclination to just skip from one to the other. But I don't get to make those rules. Hopefully the field holds together. Whether it does or not, I'm going to take a shot with Timberlake here, guys. Look, Fierceness is 5-2 on the morning line. Timberlake is 3 times that price. They're both coming off of layoffs. They both have not had a good race for a while. It's been a while since Fierceness showed his best in the Florida Derby. It's been a while since Timberlake showed his best in the Rebel. Both of them are hit or miss types, but the value comes on one versus the other. Mind Frame is a horse that I greatly respect. He's coming back pretty quick for a horse like this off the Belmont in about 5 weeks' time. That was a grueling test for him. Cutting back to the 1 1/8 is probably going to help him here. But he is drawn to the outside. There is other speed in here, and I think he's going to probably get hammered at the windows in this particular spot. Dornock is going to show speed from the inside as well, and I think Timberlake might be able to work out a good stalking trip if he's not as aggressive and not as on the muscle as he was in the Arkansas Derby, where he attacked early and then looked in the eye by Muth, who's a very talented runner. I think Timberlake could be well situated here for a good run. I trust Cox in a spot like this with a horse that I think he put a circle around this race after he went to the sidelines. He's been working extremely well since coming back. I love the 4 consecutive 5 furlong workout moves. I don't think he could be any fitter, and the price is definitely going to be right. And you're getting Flavian Pratt, who, for my money right now, is the best jockey in the country. So Timberlake, for me, at 8-1 is my play.
I don't blame you for trying with an 8-1 price. I mean, because you aren't getting good prices with Fierceness, Mind Frame, even Dornock if you want to go that angle. But looking at Timberlake, he has 2 races where he had triple-digit Brisnet speed figures, and that was his 3rd start back and 4th start back. Coming off this layoff, I could see him have a big number here, but I did settle on Mind Frame. Unless, of course, Fierceness were to run, I'd probably go that angle just because of his pattern, too, of win-loss, win-loss. He's coming off that big loss in the Derby, so I would expect him to rebound here. But Mind Frame just looks really good. Last 3 starts, a 105 Brisnet speed figure last out, beaten just a half a length. You could tell the immaturity and the stretch run in the Belmont, and I think will certainly improve here. So I'm going to go with, of course, Mind Frame and Irad Ortiz Jr. and Todd Pletcher, all a very good combination there. So that's where I landed, but obviously I'm not going to get any kind of price like you're going to get, Darin, on Timberlake. So I certainly think you're making a smarter choice there.
Well, I mean, listen, it's not necessarily the smarter choice. You have the horse that's more likely to win the race.
Yeah.
I'm just taking the approach of if fierceness is 5-2, he carries a similar profile to Timberlake, who's 8-1. It's not that I think he's the most likely winner. I just think on paper you have two horses that are starting in the gate next to each other, presumably, that have very similar profiles, and one is 3 times the price of the other. That's literally what it just comes down to. I think Mindframe is the most likely winner, and I expect them to be bet accordingly.
How about Darin dropping that grade one take on us like towards the end of the show? Hey, I'm not a big like prep for a prep grade one race, so I get the Derby preps, but the 2-year-old, it's a division in and to itself. I mean, to say that those races are that, I mean, it's separate from the 3-year-old season, so I'm not going with that. But and I was a little bummed, Ashley, to hear you say you might pivot to fierceness. I'm trying to play against fierceness. I'm really bummed he's not going to run potentially.
Yeah. Darin, are you going to go to the Haskell? Is that an easy trip for you from?
I was actually at several Haskells. I was at Holy Bulls Haskell. I was at the Haskell where Peace Rules beat Funny Side. I was at Men of, I mean, I've probably been to a dozen of them. And I was at American Pharaohs Haskell, which was really, really cool. But Haskell Day at Monmouth Park is crazy. And I would much rather just kind of go there on a regular day with my family and not have to battle with the crowds. But listen, if you want a great day of racing, it's exciting. If I hadn't been there a dozen times already, I would go. But I will be watching right here all the great racing across the country on my screens.
Totally understandable. All right. Well, that's all.
And betting on TwinSpires. Can't do that in New
yeah.
Jersey yet.
That's all the time we have today for our 52nd episode of The Jury. It's been a year of the TwinSpires Jury, so happy anniversary as well. Head to TwinSpires.com or the app for all those promos that we have going on this weekend, and we'll see you next week for our 53rd episode.